Uh, yes, good afternoon, sir. Today, actually, we will be organizing this event on IPR, and the speakers are here with us. So, in that case, we have to
Join করে যাও
start the session. Host today is from your end. Miss Anushka is there with us.
Okay.
Yes. So we have two experts from NUJS on IPR related event, and they are Dr. Jayanto Ghosh and Dr. Shambhu Prasad Chakraborty, and they will be delivering their speech today on these two issues today. And I see a good number of attendees today, and the students and the faculties are there from your institution. So it is a great privilege from the host Mentor Institute to organize this event. And from your end, you all must host this event and make it a good flow through, so that the outcome is very good and fruitful for the students and faculties also on IPR. So all the panelists are here, right, sir?
Right. So it's nice to have Dr. Ghosh and Dr. Chakravarti, experts.
Yes.
And for my side, you would want me to just have a brief, speech or something, and then I should exit?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let me know when we can start, or from our side, we are coordinating. I don't know.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Sen, Dr. Sen, and is Saptarshi there? Are we supposed to conduct this?
We will. We have Anushka. Yeah, I think Anushka has joined. She will be taking us through the whole workshop. Anushka, have you joined? Yes, I think she has. Shaptushi, yes, she has joined. Shaptushi is a bit indisposed. I think his father is having an operation, so he hasn't been able to join us today. And anyway, so Anushka will be there, and she will be taking us through the events. So a very good afternoon to all, sir. Sir, I think will you be saying a few words to us?
Yeah, in fact, we should start.
Yes.
I think I leave it to, I think you have.
So we have officially started this event, sir, because the recording is in progress. And so we would like to hear from you, from your institution end, right?
Okay. So over to you. Who is moderating this, or who is handling this entire event?
Yes, Anushka.
Good evening, everyone. So I am your host for today, Anushka. I am the head of the entrepreneurship cell in the Kolkata campus, and I am extremely delighted to have all of you here with me today. Our panelists, the guest speakers, everyone from our college, Krishnendu sir, Shubhashi sir, everybody, a very warm welcome. Just can I be excused 1 second?
Yes, I think we have lost her.
Yeah.
So without much ado, let me just step in. And first of all, I would offer my huge thanks and gratitude to Techno University and group of institutions for convening this webinar on this very interesting topic on IP and IPR and IPM relating to startup. Now, also, I'm so happy to be part of this learned panel today, comprising experts from NUJS. And I'm sure that probably they will be focusing more on the IP and the process of how you convert it into rights and then how you're able to manage those in the realm of startups. Now, since I see that primarily the audience comprised of students, so to the students, I think I would like to say that let us keep aside this intellectual, prefix to a property, which often drives people away that, okay, probably I'm not intellectual, I'm just doing my graduation. So can I participate in anything called intellectual property or leading to some kind of an patent? Rather, I will tell the students that initially you should think about a useful property. When I say useful property, I mean, today you see exactly what are the problems and what can be those useful solutions to those problems or useful alternatives to some solutions which are already there. So let us first of all focus on creating a useful property, a property which can be used, which is not supposed to get archived somewhere in some repository and you can fancy it, okay, I have something registered as an idea and it is there in some locker out there. Rather, let us come out, use our study life cycle period of 2 years or 4 years or 3 years, and try to participate in creating some useful property. For that, we have to have a focus. The times in which probably we are in, all of you might be aware of something called Sustainable Development Goals, because all of us, every citizen of this world, every student of this world, youth of this world, we all have a mandate and an imperative that whatever education, whatever learning we are able to acquire, we are supposed to put it into good use. Employability is obviously a good output, right? But when you talk about an outcome, which has to be long lasting, wherein we as a student or a continuous learner have to always participate in creating or implementing a useful property in whichever areas of our study and learning we are in. We need not be maybe a highly or a brilliant resource in computing or having a great technical knowledge, and then only probably we can create some big machines or softwares. Let us first of all think about an idea, about an alternative, come up with a hypothesis, because see, there are a lot of other process in which an idea gets through. That pipeline helps refine that particular idea. So the important thing is to come up with an idea which can create a better tomorrow, a tomorrow which is sustainable, in terms of the future which probably we'll be leaving for our progeny to come and take. Now, this is what the sense of education is all about. And I'm very happy that even Techno Group and also us, we are also part of West Bengal Innovation Network, which is a global platform for promoting innovations in the realm of sustainable development. Now, in education, we can embrace this circular economy. When I say circular economy, as you know, that let us come up with some useful property which can extend the life cycle of a product or a particular service. A kind of a useful solution which can mitigate, if not eliminate, at least mitigate new extraction of materials. You extract materials, you mine it, be it any material. So for creating any new product, you require material. And from where this material comes, we have to mine, right? So how we can minimize those kind of a new extraction. And the solutions can be that how you can use that waste into some kind of a wealth. Now, talking about waste, in education, I think the paramount thing is in this increasing digitalization of education. Every hand is having a kind of a device, which is electrical and electronic device, to access information, to build information, to share, disseminate. Now, if you see about the statistics all world over, I mean, we are piling in a huge repository of unusable, as of now, electrical and electronic waste. As student, if you can just do a bit of a checklist today as a homework and figure it out that how many such appliances which probably you are having, which you are not using or very moderately using. It is still there in your house, occupying some space. Now that particular thing is a material, right? Even if it is you are not using it, even if it is probably not say usable, right, not working, it is still not dead. It is a material. There might be a recovery. So we are talking about reoptions. Now, as a student, we have to figure it out. Either we are studying management, engineering, or whatever, even if it is arts and fine arts. There is no kind of a silo to think. We can think beyond our silos. We can think how you can use your re-options. Re means either you can reuse it or repair it. What can be the useful property you have generated to help repair a particular kind of a material to make it a useful resource, or repair it, or you can help to remanufacture it. Then finally, how we again recycle it. And if we are unable to recycle it, then probably we can repurpose it. And I was talking about a fine arts student, and here is some electrical and electronic waste, and he or she has not studied electronics or electrical or any fancy engineering, no PhD degrees whatsoever. So they are not looking for, say, as I said, don't look for something called intellectual. You look for something which is useful. Now, as a fine arts student, you think that these materials are not even recyclable, right? They are useless. It has to go to some dump yard. Now, this fine art student, what they do is they come up with something, a kind of a public art. A public art using those kind of materials which probably cannot be even recycled. But there's a great public art which you have done. Is it not very useful thing, probably, which can be there in a park or some kind of a location or a museum? It makes people happy. Still, it is very useful. Otherwise, it was going to some kind of a dump yard. And listen, all our rivers today, world over, are polluted. We only talk about air, we only talk about something, noise, which probably are quite measurable. But what about rivers? I mean, we are discharging so much of waste out there, which is chemical waste, electronic waste. So how the idea is that how we can at least come up with certain ideas, use our education, use our kind of a mini collaborations, give it a name, give your initiative a name, and that is what we are calling it a startup. A startup cannot be like a $1 billion company the very first day. It is an idea. It can be a $1 billion idea to begin with, but we do not know. And today, the good thing is, if you see the literature, you will figure it out that yes, you have a point called startup, and then how you move from a startup with your idea, when you bring in more people, more ideas around that particular idea, some property is getting generated, right? You are able to transfer that property. Then you become different kind of corns, right? So they call it unicorn or sunicorn or decacorn and hectocorns. So those are the $1 billion things which I'm talking about. Let us begin small, few thousands of rupees or even hundreds of rupees. We only have an idea. We are building a kind of a small prototype, right? And then probably in education, what we can best do is we can create models and prototypes, and then meet in webinars and seminars and expositions like this and share those kind of a property and ensure that probably we are helping to make it more useful. So that should be from my side. What we want to say is that let us focus on the usefulness of the property. And of course, today you will be hearing from the panel of experts, because how you convert that particular thing, how you're able to protect that particular property and then convert into some kind of intellectual property, right? And then own the rights, and how you are able to manage it. That is something which is a kind of a techno legal commercial kind of a thing, which is of course very, very important. But talking about first thing first is that let us remove this big intellectual thing, and in education we should allow our students to participate in developing any useful property. That should be our focus, and I'm sure as a mentor institute, Techno and NSHM as a partner institute, and like other institutes as well, if we can create some examples of this such useful property, if we can link it to some credit evaluations, right? And encourage this generation of useful property to begin with. And then probably we can figure it out how best we can then move to the next level, which is to talk about those legalities with the IP and the IPR and the IPM. But then this useful property is something to impact not only your life of your collaborators, but also the community in a very, very small way. Still, it will be a very big step towards realizing this startup and enabling environment for some regenerative design, some biomimicry, something which probably of value to the sharing economy, industrial ecology, which probably I'm talking about. These are certain things which probably should know, read, learn. But end of the day, the main purpose is that how you're able to create a better tomorrow, how you're able to handle something like this chemical, electrical, electronic waste, which probably is all over the place. And this is affecting us, all our lives. You have those ideas with you. You have the talent with you. You have the resources with you, thanks to the online resources and the ability to meet online like today we are meeting. But then let us charter this into our curriculum and make sure that we are focusing more on creating useful property and then moving towards thinking about how we can convert that useful property into intellectual property. Thank you so very much, Techno Group. Thank you so very much, NSHM, and our panelists out here, Dr. Ghosh and Dr. Chakravarti from NGOs. Thank you so much. And I'm sure that the audience today here will have a lot of takeaways with them end of the session. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable note and speech. Before you leave from this forum, please let all us switch on our videos. The panelists are requested to switch on the videos, even the invited speakers, to take the screenshots, which are mandatory for report writings. So I request my colleague, Dr. Pritam Mukherjee, please carry on with your screenshots from our end.
Sure, ma'am. Yeah, it's done.
Okay, is it
It's
done?
done now.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, sir. So the floor is yours, NSHM. So please carry forward.
Yes, Anushka.
So on the note of a better tomorrow, like Krishnendu sir said, let us move on to our next opening address by Professor Shubhashish Mehta. Sir?
I think he's not here in the panel.
I think he's not there.
Okay. So let's move on to the next point then. After this, we have an introduction of the guests by Professor Suchandra Singh.
So we have with us Dr. Shambhu Prasad Chakravarti, Head and Research Fellow at Center for Regulatory Studies, Governance and Public Policy, West Bengal University of Geographical Sciences. And Dr. Chakravarti received his LLB and LLM from Calcutta University and PhD from the University of North Bengal. He has taught for over 15 years at Calcutta University, KIIT, MIT Law School, and WBNUJS. He has worked extensively in the area of indigenous and tribal rights, climate change, intellectual property rights, and technology law. He has authored 7 books and over 40 articles and book chapters including in Liverpool Law Review, Environmental Management, and is currently co-editing 2 more books. He received the gold medal for winning youth parliament competition organized by the government of West Bengal. He topped his school at +2 level and college in his LLB degree. Dr. Chakraborty is currently a member of the prestigious Law and Society Associates USA and the Commonwealth Lawyers Association UK. He is currently assisting the government of West Bengal in various empirical projects and formulation of policies. Dr. Chakraborty, it is over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sen, for that warm welcome and introduction. Well, I will also extend my thanks to Shoptoshi Ghosh, the head of Center for Innovation and Incubation, NISHM campus. I'll also like to thank Sophia ma'am for well, when I came across this particular topic of discussion, which circulates around startup, I was immediately like inclined towards the thought that these young students who are coming out from some renowned institutions with huge potential and energy, I think it's important that they get the right impetus to move forward in furtherance of their economic endeavor. And I think, today startups are actually taking this entire responsibility of making people self-sufficient. And I've seen many startups which are right now multi-billion dollar like an industry. So I think it's important that my young viewers throw some attention to the basics of how the things they should behave, what are the things that they should be doing at this inception before they move on in developing various startup propositions. I would like to say that this tendency of developing a small business is not something new, and this has been, carried on for like in ages, if not centuries. And the first journey starts with the perception of setting up a small, maybe a coffee shop, or you're making a bucket list of what you do in your life, or maybe a setup where you start selling things, whether they're things or products or something like that. You tend to be inclined towards what are the best foot forward to take your journey to the next level. Now, intellectual property is a very important and pertinent aspect for everyone to keep your mind upon, because everything germinates upon the hard work that you're putting in on a particular thing. And that particular, maybe a page, which is a blank page, and you're writing on it, you're drawing on it, you are developing or printing it on a particular, maybe a mug, a coffee mug, and selling it off. So the value that you're putting in it is completely yours. And this particular perception of protecting one's property right is very, very important. But remember, intellectual property is a very interesting genre of discussion. I'd like to help you with one very simple example. A couple, young men and one man and a lady, they were in their college life, and they were in a romantic relationship. And in those days in England, the only option was basically to write letters. So there was maybe a dozen or maybe 20, 25 odd these letters, which were so nicely written written with such amazing verses and later on by one of the kids of the father who actually wrote that when he was a kid himself. And what he decided was to make a small booklet and publish it. And he took the permission of his father, and then he moved ahead with this particular. Another person could have 1 or 2 pages from it and started publishing it in their own. Now this act by the second person immediately infringes the letter and the right that exists in the letter. And what happened? This second person entered into a contract with the first person, and this son said, yeah, you can do whatever you feel like. But the actual author, the aged man, he decided against this particular proposition of selling his letter just like that in the market. So it's not about the book that you're buying from the market, but it's about the words that's written on that particular book, which is also protected. So you cannot be the owner simply because you have bought that particular book and you have bought that particular, maybe a letter, maybe a poem, maybe a phrase, whatever it is not yours. So the person who actually devotes its time and energy and developing something, so that is a completely different genre, and that is something which is called intellectual property. And the idea that you're putting in, maybe you're developing a particular plan and proposal to develop something and put that in the market, maybe a design that you think would actually be appreciated by the people at large, and your business will flourish. Well, that idea is also yours. So these intellectual properties needs to be protected. But remember one thing, a mere idea is not protected unless and until we apply that on a particular product. So there is a dichotomy that exists between an idea and expression. Now, before I move on with a further discussion on intellectual property, let me tell you that everything that you see around, which is not actually created by nature, are basically in furtherance of the intellectual application of human beings, and there is an intellectual property in everything. Now, coming down to how do you plan to use that particular intellectuality of yours and make it marketable. Now, maybe you have a very good understanding with a friend of yours. Maybe you have a very good product that you're planning to sell in the market, and you want to do that with your friend. That's perfectly fine. But there are certain legal compliances. What I've seen in the statistics of startups is that out of 10, 9 startups dies suddenly, and this is something which is not good for any startup. And some of the major reasons that I've also studied, the reasons for which the startups once booms up and then the bubble bursts, is because of certain non-compliances, non-adherence to certain legal principles and thoughts. So before any further ado, I have a set of 6 or 7 slides that we presented for a better understanding about what are you going to do when you plan for developing a particular startup. I'm not sure whether my screen is visible to everybody, but I would give it a go. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, yes, your screen is visible.
Well, thank you so much.
Give it the slide mode, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's visible.
First thing that I would like all my young friends who are planning to develop a startup in some way or the other is to believe that you can actually do this. You can actually make a difference in the market, and that positivity is required to be used here in your work. Now, the biggest problem that we face whenever we not that economically support from either of our parents or maybe the parent organization where we study, the problem is money. So I think I would like you all to explore the various financial support that is existent in the market. The government of India, they have certain schemes. You can apply to them and you can get some funds going on your way. But remember, funds are only available when you have certain legal requirements and compliances in your favor. So it is important, that there needs to be a very strong argument in your favor. And this argument is about to what extent that your prototype, your plan, your things are actually marketable, and it is actually it's going to do something good. It's going to be something different. Organizations that you can see on the screen initiated just like small entrepreneurship, like KFC, like at one point of time even Microsoft was developed by which was we all use today. The computer that I'm using right now is based on this Microsoft-based computing system. So it was at one point of time exactly like the venture that you're planning to develop, or even before that. So it's a chain of action, it's a sequence, and it never happens in one day, but it can happen. So one of the things that all of you need to take care of at this moment is a set of things. I would like you to look into the legal issues that circulates about this particular concept of a startup. Number one, there is a structure. Okay, what would be the name, where the office, where you need to get the licenses from various things. So the second thing is about compliances and license. The relationship that exists ultimately be. Remember, there's a big difference between an agreement. Of an agreement, it is not necessarily parties are promising action in case of a violation of conditions made by one of the parties. So these are some of the basic things that you need to understand. Now, whenever you're talking about funding and whenever you are taking the money from someone else, remember, the initial funding you might get maybe 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees, you might get as a corpus fund from the government as an assistance. But in order to run that particular system, you need to have a good flow of money coming in, because you never know how long will it actually take for that particular business to be popular and self-sustaining. So you need to be careful about how much money you're planning to invest, how much money your partner is planning to invest, and you need to have a very good idea about that and very good understanding between them. And the better it is if you can have certain things in black and white written to take the discussion forward. Now, as I told a little earlier about IPR, you need to classify between your intellectual contribution in the business and the things which you are supposed to buy from the market or introduce to the business from the market. So this is another very important aspect. And as I told you, the difference between agreement and contract, you need to be very focused. And remember that if you convert your business into say for example, a partnership, then and if you register it accordingly, all these things come within the purview of compliances and contracts and licenses. Then you will get investors. You can apply for certain creditors who can give you things on credit. If you're not having those formal things happening at the inception, forget about any business entity giving you anything on credit. You won't be provided with the support that your business will ultimately require. So uh, this is the second important point that I would want to incorporate. Here, you need to understand that every business organization, especially a startup, you need to take into consideration the two different set of things. One, within the particular business, and the other, where the business is dealing with other people outside, the outside world, the consumers, the other people from whom you're maybe borrowing the money, those people from whom you are taking the things on credit. So all these things, it's an external and internal classification to be on a simplest setup area. Now, there are certain legal issues that you need to take into consideration when you are talking about people within the organization who would be sharing the profits and who would only get maybe a salary, and they're all working within. So the internal governance needs to be clearly demarcated. In the absence of that, it will only lead to confusion and subsequently maybe the breaking up of relationship between the parties, and maybe at one point of time the breaking up of the startup, which was supposed to be something really good. So here you need to understand, you need to have some standard, like employer-employee agreements with you. You need to take into consideration the details of the business expenditures, to what extent you can sell, to what extent you are planning your market to improve. You need to be very meticulous with everything that you're doing, and you need to pay tax. So this is a very important aspect. Taxing statutes needs to be taken care of. Say, for example, if you're selling goods, you need to have a GST. So these are some of the basic things which I think you need to take care of. Whether if you're selling maybe something which you have to cook or use fire, you have to get a fire license. If you want to do some sort of selling or something, any sort of a business, you need to have a trade license. So these I would ask all of you to definitely consider first before you take the important step of dealing with the external agencies and outsiders. Now, coming down to the next relationship that I'd like to highlight here in a minute, is that you need to have a very good and transparent relationship with anybody who comes down your way. If you're selling something, and if a particular person comes up and takes, and he's not satisfied with the service or the product, you must remember that they can. So what is the consumer flow? What are the ways by which this entire redressal system works? So you need to be very careful. And I would definitely ask you to take assistance of people who are specialists in this, the advocates, or maybe a lawyer friend or someone relationship with them, so that just in case you need an assistance, you can get someone who can even look into the books, law books, and may discuss with their seniors and give you an immediate short-term, remedy. And if you require a stronger remedy, you can take it through him later on. So number one, you need to structure your business. Number two, you need to have a very good write-up as to how the business is going to work. What are the responsibilities of the various people who, when dealing with the outsiders? Can anyone take or receive check in their personal name? Names or not, all these things, maybe a car or a bike or used by any individual person, all these for certain reasons, all these things need another, and basically if you're mind with further legal issues. To sum up the entire our discussion, I would like, even when it's more about your idea and how you're going to express that in practice with the money that maybe you are generating yourself, getting a funder or something like that, whatever it is, you need to be very diligent as to the paperwork, as to the compliances, as to the licenses. If you're getting some money from outside India, where you need to have some other compliances going on, the SEBI rules needs to be taken care of. When you're asking somebody, there are labor legislations, there are other complicated issues that needs to be taken care of. The product that you're selling, whether that particular product is the intellectual property of another person. And maybe you're planning to use a design or a logo, maybe which is used by other local communities, the tribal peoples and stuff. And maybe you're putting that on a particular bag and you want to sell that bag, which is new. I appreciate that. But remember, you need to be very careful and you need to understand that that can be the private property, intellectual property of someone else. So you need to understand that there are, so it's all about management, I would say. And a good manager always takes good care of the records, of the documents. And I'm sure that all of you will actually end up, whoever is planning to move into this particular startup business of their own, I think they would really do good if they take care of these things at the very inception. Thank you once again. I will not extend my discussion any further. Just in case anyone have any question, they can maybe take it out later on or even now. Give me the sign.
Are there any questions? You can give it in the chat box.
The participants can put up their questions in the chat box. Yes.
So while we wait for the questions, it was an absolute honor to have you here today with us and for you to share your insightful information with us. I know you have an extremely busy schedule, but we just wanted to thank you on behalf of NSHM.
So maybe we can go to the next presenter or something.
Yes,
like
yes,
just in case
exactly. Thank you, Dr. Chakraborty. Thank you very much. And I'm sure we have come to know about the legal issues and all that are needed to be, need to be considered when setting up a startup. And so thank you very much. And I'm sure everyone has got an idea about how to go about it. But of course, first of all, you would need the startup idea and then the setup and all these. One thing I just wanted to ask you, and that is nowadays we see many people working with, weavers. Uh, so the weaving, what should I say, that the occupation or what the weaver does is also his intellectual property. So how is he represented, or how does his intellectual property or whatever is property protected? Is it at all?
Well, thank you, madam, for that question. That's a very interesting question, and I must tell you that, first of all, we need to know whether that particular design that this particular person, maybe a weaver, maybe the tailor, who is actually portraying, is his or her original work. Now, if he or she is taking it from someone else and putting it on the description, that is not protected. That is number one. Number two is any product or anything that we make that needs to be registered in majority of the cases, like there are various intellectual properties, say for example, patent, trademark, copyright. We need to get it registered first in order to claim protection. There is an exception in case of copyright, there are certain rights which a particular person still owns, even when he is not getting it registered. We call that a moral right to that particular work. But then again, in case of an infringement, he cannot go a long way if he would have had his work registered, protected, then he could have gone along with. So it's important that we know that this is my design and this has not been cheated or borrowed or copied from someone else. I'll tell you a very interesting case. I very recently got this case. A person, wants to claim that there is a dance form that she has created and wants to get it protected. But virtually speaking, that particular dance form is an admixture of maybe Kathak, Bharatanatyam, Orisi, and some other Rabindra, Natya, and even some ballads from the European structure. This is something which she claims that this is her original work. But as a matter of fact, if you look closely, this is a sum total of various versions. Now, this is something which cannot be copyrighted. So this is important for us to understand what is actually subjected to be protected and what are the things that cannot be protected. And that's the reason why we are here, just in case anyone needs any further clarification as to what are the basics in furtherance of which I can get a copyright. You can always write down to me.
So tribal designs, tribal weaves are not protected as of now.
No, I'll tell you. It's a very interesting question. Let me tell you that traditional knowledge and traditional cultural expressions. Now, this is a part of the bigger perception of intellectual property rights, but it is not independently protected by a separate enactment. Say, for example, we have a Patent Act, we have a Copyright Act, but we do not have the Traditional Knowledge Act. However, there is a bill which is called the Protection of Traditional Knowledge Bill, which was introduced in 2016 by Shashi Tharoorji, but ultimately it has not been passed into an act. So if it comes out to be an act, then it will be automatically protected. In the absence of such, there is another thing on which we can follow upon when it comes to these products, these art forms. We call that geographical indications. Maybe my next speaker, Professor Ghosh, would be giving you a better idea about
I think we've lost him.
how, people who are listening to this particular discussion, Bengal was fighting with Orissa as to. So ultimately, all art forms actually been protected by GI. There is a handful of GIs that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Chakravarti. Dr. Zaman, should we go on to our next panelist?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sure.
We are delighted to have with us Dr. Joyanta Ghosh, and who is presently holding a position as research fellow at the Center for Regulatory Studies, Governance and Public Policy, West Bengal National University of Juridical Sciences. He is an alumnus of Rajiv Gandhi School of Intellectual Property Law, Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, where he was conferred with a doctorate in law on right to privacy and data protection in digital India legislative paradigm. He specializes in intellectual property law, law and technology, information privacy, data protection, and data security laws, all of which are very important in today's world. He has been awarded many prestigious fellowships, notably the Dart Fellowship and the Indo-Canadian Shastri Institute Fellowship. He has received grants and completed a project entitled European Data Protection Laws under the supervision of Professor Dr. Nikolaus Fogo at Institute for Legal Informatics, Leibniz University, Hanover, Germany. Has also been awarded a partial scholarship by the Max Planck Institute for Innovation and Competition to attend the World Youth Forum on Ethics in Innovation at the Max Planck Institute for Innovation and Competition, Munich. He is also the founder of the IP think tank, which facilitates and spreads awareness of intellectual property law for society. He is also a visiting faculty at the Sister Nivedita University and the Techno University, main campus, Kolkata. And at Amity, he has also been at Amity, where he has taught mainly about copyright, IPR in the pharma industry, trademark, design, biodiversity, law, and introduction to intellectual property. He is on the academic committee member of the International Trademark Association. He also holds a membership of Data Security Council India, the Kolkata chapters. Dr. Ghosh has authored books, has written in book chapters, and has a number of research papers related to several contemporary issues. Dr. Ghosh, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you everyone, and thanks to the organizer. I believe I'm audible to everyone. Yeah, perfect.
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Okay, thank you. Actually, my internet connection here is too much unstable, so I joined again with my mobile. So I'm very sorry that I cannot, which I prepared to show all of you that PPT. So I would not be able to present that PPT. So I'll present that only without that. So what I thought to discuss with all of you, as all of you are students here, it's very difficult to finish this IP, what is IP, and in relation to that startups in 20 minutes. So I thought to pick up some specific points, which is very much important for the students and those who are upcoming or budding, startup entrepreneurs. And so in relation to this, there are certain IP policies, which is very much important, and everyone, like a budding entrepreneur, should know that. And before that, first you think of, as your director sir, as in the starting of this event shared that words that everyone should work for some cause, and which is very much important. And if you are addressing a simple cause in a very simple manner, that is recognizable. And that's very much important to know that which direction you are moving. And after that, you can think of intellectual property. See, for example, if you take um, these days we are frequently using this kind of web apps, that Zoom, that platforms, so to say. So if you are planning for this kind of platform, to prepare a platform in a different way, different mood, so you have to think first that small idea, that first is your idea, which requires a creativity, a specific creativity which is inbuilt in every human being. And honestly telling you, every human being has that intellectual skill. Just you have to channelize this skill in a proper manner. So from idea, where you can add your action, with that you can think of a creativity which would be the, and your your ultimate target is to prepare a kind of platform. So now my first question is, for that preparation of that platform, the contribution from your part which you will do for in course of action, that needs to be reflect, that needs to be reflect, and it should be connected with that specific cause. Maybe you can provide just a suggestion kind of thing, that your platform may differ from other platforms which is available, like Google Meet or Zoom or other Skypes. And it is better platform to use in a very easy manner, like, and free features also you can add. So it's just an example. And that your creativity which comes up with the end product, the productivity, the products, that original products which is your product, that product should be your. And how you will recognize that, how you will get that? Through patent, through copyright, through trademark. These are the different forms of intellectual property. So for the purpose of knowing that intellectual property and different parts, segments of intellectual property, it requires a lot of time. But the thing is that the specific which a entrepreneur should know first in initial stage is, first thing is, if you are working a kind of innovative idea, then you should know what is patent. And if you are coming up with a business model, then you should know what is trademark. And if you are coming up with a specific community benefit interest, like a specific product from a community, from that is GI, where you have to know the specific basic things related to these aspects. And if you are looking for kind of music, film industry or cinematography work, then, or you are writing a novel to protect that, then you can think of copyright. So these are the different segments. But the ultimate thing, as a startup or as an entrepreneur, you should think that your product should be reached to the market. Once your product reach to the market, what what are the things you will get out of it? That you have to understand. Your basic product, it may goes in a boom, because at the time when Sundar Pichai thought of uh, this Google platform, that Alphabet, that time he doesn't know. He didn't calculate the market, but nowadays his market is huge. No, so that's where you should shape your idea to a action, to a product, and to reach to the market. Now, if your product reach to the market, suppose, then what you will going to think of? You will think of for the profit. But in between the legal intricacies for which this intellectual property is there. So as an intellectual property expert or law and technology experts, there are certain intricacies, the models where internal and external forces where you have to look for the technological know-how, whether the know-how you are using, is it original your know-how or somebody else know-how, that you have to measure. Suppose if you are using the lab of your institute as a student, so how what or how much credit you will give to your institute, to your creativity or to your end product, that you have to know. That's what where the intellectual property policies will help you. And as a startup person, you should know the legal problems first, so to say. See, benefits you will definitely get, but the thing is that if you know the problems, then you can overcome with in an easy manner. Now, where you are taking your product to the market, just for an example, there you have to know the technological part, which platform you are using to take your product to the market. Maybe you are using Flipkart or Amazon as an e-commerce platform. There you have to know the policy that your product is your product price and every communication details and everything in relation to that market aspects, that technological part. So where you can think of that profit should be in your pocket. Now we are talking about this intellectual property, but what is that exactly? It's kind of intangible property where which you cannot see, you cannot touch, you cannot smell. But for example, Adidas, Nike, these top shoe brands, no, that specific brand, how come that brand became? Because we are purchasing that. For that we are paying a lot of amount, the cost, a lot of amount for that specific product. So for that specific product, if we are thinking as a brand conscious people, we are using that specific brands, then the trademark, suppose your startup is going to be the brand in future days. For that you need to take the registration of trademark. Suppose XYZ manufacturer, XYZ Messrs XYZ Company Limited. So that name should carry a specific brand in future days. For that reason, you have to think from the day one that I will carry that brand in my future days also. So that's how you have to look for trademark aspects. Now, if you are preparing a kind of specific design, like Madam told that tribal designs, yes, tribal designs I can look for, but for that reason, I should not be discouraged or hurt to the religious sentiment of the tribals or community sentiment to the tribals. I may be a non-tribal, I can take up their products, and there in relation to this tribal aspect, there is two IPs where you can look for that. One is geographical indication, and one is traditional knowledge. So in relation to geographical indication, if you want to look for that specific product, like for example, Darjeeling tea, it's a hill area, no? Then tribal people can think of that. Oh, this is our area product, so you have to give the benefit of the all the tribals. That's not. It's a GI is a community benefit work, community benefit product, and that products should give the benefit to the everyone from that community. So in IP, there is two types of IP. One is for private, one is public. So if you are looking for private, this is patent, copyright, trademark, trade secret, design. These are specific private. And the separate thing is the other thing is that GI is a community benefit IP. It's where a individual mass group of people can claim intellectual property. And the other aspects you can think of that in relation to that startups, that if you are coming up with an idea which is marketable enough, and your scale of the business is huge in starting days, so you can think to register each and every IP from the day one. Hence, then only you can protect it later on in a greater way, or else your business will not sustain in later date. That's common, and uh, uh, that's how this IP system is working. A Coca-Cola bottle holds two IP. One is design of the bottle, another is the brand tag, that Coca-Cola. We can see these days that Bisleri bottle, no, Bisleri water bottle, separate names are there, but the bottle shape is same. No, so there is the infringement of IP. But here, infringement portions, when an IP is infringed, if in your name the IP is belongs, then you have to go to the court of law. Not the other person or any community will come for you to inform you that yes, come, your IP is violated. So that you have to take call. So if you are organized enough, then only you can take the measures to prevent others not to infringe or not to make loss of your business. Okay. Now, in relation to the startup aspects, there are policies. Let me tell you the name. If you are directly applying for startups, there are funding aspects, like Prime Minister Employment Generation Program and other credit support schemes. There are schemes. You can find it in the Skill India website. So, development of Khadi village and coir industries, technology upgradation, quality certification, marketing promotion schemes. So there are ample number of schemes these days available, and there are credit system also. So no need to think of that who will fund me, who will fund my startups. There are private companies also these days. You know that Wow Momo story, the guy from Kolkata itself. Now he set up all over the India his chain business, that Wow Momo. So this kind of thinking you should start from the day one. If your thinking capacity or idea leads to the creativity and product and then profit, then you can think of for this startup aspects, and then you can be a better entrepreneur. So see, in entrepreneurship, IP impacts is huge. But for initial time, you have to know some of the things that your entrepreneurship startup business is related to which area. If you are thinking for simple business, then go for only trademark. But along with the trade secret, suppose your business belongs to preparation of biryani or selling of biryani. So that biryani recipe you should not be shared with anybody. This is trade secret, your business secret. So these are the certain things you have to take care. And if your business is kind of platform preparation, like innovation of a kind of machine, so that in that case you have to think of patent. You can give license also for that patent. For that, no need to develop a entrepreneur. You can think you can look for other persons also who can be fund or who can take up the license of your patent. So that option is there. And during the COVID time, that Covaxin and that other vaccines, these items also very much connected with the IP. So this is just a simple brief for all of your motivation and just a connection with the IP, which I thought to share with all of you. I believe I have exceeded a lot of time, and with that sincere thanks to the organizer, I'm sharing my artist thanks to the organizing team and Sophia ma'am, and for the opportunity. If anybody has any kind of questions related in relation to IP and technology aspects, you are welcome to any questions, anybody.
I think I am the one who will be asking you a question.
Definitely.
Yeah, we are the pharmacy department. Most of the students are from the pharmacy department. So when designing or marketing a drug, what are the different patents or trademarks that are required, or how many go into it?
Ma'am, in relation to pharmacy, there is two things. In relation to if we go for patent, no, one is product, and one is the process. So you can look for both. So there you have to, like Brufen or for a small example, the paracetamol. If you're colliding both the things, you are coming up with a new drug that is not acceptable in patent. So you have to come up with certain things that is totally new, that three aspects of patent should fulfill: that inventive steps, novelty, and industrial applications. So their pharmacy department is really useful for this patent aspects. Now coming to the part of designing aspects, designing part, it depends of the packaging system, that tablet, that every pills, how you will make the designing of the packaging, that is very much connected with the designing aspects. And really in relation to the branding, that Sun Pharma, that it's a brand. So that part is deals with the trademark. So if you are if anybody is thinking of that branding of any specific product, a pharmaceutical specific product, that trademark, these three aspects is most important. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So we have a question in the chat. It's what is the process of trademarking any sort of music composition or storyline?
Honestly telling you, movie composition and storyline is falls under copyright, not trademark. So that's a different IP. So movie, it's a falls under that Copyright Act. So copyright laws. And if you think of the trademark, that producer company, every producer has one company, so like Dharma Production, Yes Production. So they have the trademark. That company name and brand is a trademark, but the specific story, there also one most important thing is one is idea, one is expression. So simple idea will not qualify for copyright. It's not only copyright in every IP. Simple idea, mere idea, everyone we can think of mere idea, but it will not qualify for. But at the ultimate product, that expression is copyrightable. For example, if you think of every movie, Indian movie, there will be one boy, one girl, and one villain. It's a common funda of every movie. So, which is not at all a copyrightable. But the thing, the depiction of that whole movie is different. Every movie is different. So that's what copyright.
Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Chakraborty and Jayanto, sir, for this talk.
Dr. Sophia, there is just one question. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Yes, yes.
But my colleague has one question. She wants to know that if she has written a story, which is her, like it's her own story, how does she go about for the copyright? that it?
Ma'am,
What is the procedure? Where does she apply for copyright? And what is the
copyright application is very simple. Here, just it will take 500 rupees to apply, and she at her own self she can apply. Online is website is available, and but the thing is, whenever she is applying for copyright, she needs to think for others also that it will be published. It should be published later on, not at the time of writing.
Okay.
It should not be disclosed before
Okay.
application.
Okay. So
That-
she can't publish before the copyright. Only after
Mm.
copyright she can publish. Or if she's
Yeah,
already
that-
published, she can't go for copyright.
Yes, and the thing is, these days we are publishing journals, no, that papers. So
Yes.
every journals has their own copyright form.
Yes.
They are sharing with us, no. So that time we are signing that and giving them the copyright,
Yes.
no.
Yes. Thank you. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Sophia.
Yeah, no. It's okay. So you all carry on, and just the session will end now. It's time up. So you all just warm up the session and end up the session.
Yes, I think we will end the session. Anushka?
So I would like to formally give a vote of thanks to Techno India University and NSHM Knowledge Campus for organizing this webinar on IP in the first place, where we could have dignitaries like Dr. S.P. Chakraborty and Dr. Jayanta Ghosh give us insightful information on the legalities of starting a startup and on the resources even a startup could go to get funding from government bodies, from different private institutions, organizations, as well as also I would like to thank Dr. Suchandra Sen. Thank you, ma'am, for being such a lovely host with me today. And I would also thank Professor Krishnendu Sarkar and Professor Shubhashis sir, Maiti sir, even though he was not able to be with us here today, I am sure he would have loved to be a part of this conversation and take, and since after the entrepreneurship wave that is happening since 2021, we are really grateful to have been able to host this and be able to be a part of this. So, and also I would like to thank Professor Sufia Zaman ma'am, the head of Department of Oceanology in Techno India. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, do we need to take another photograph at the end of the session?
Yes, if you all want, I can take. We have taken the screenshots initially, and at the end of the session, it can be taken. Yes. The link will be sent to you all. The YouTube meeting recording link will be sent, Dr. Ghosh. Okay. So thank you all the speakers. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you all.
thank you for your
Thank you.
support. Thank you, sir.